Have you ever just stared at a blinking cursor on a blank page, feeling that knot in your stomach? You know the feeling. You've got this absolutely brilliant idea, but you just can't seem to find the right words to explain it. Or maybe you've stood in front of a crowd, your heart totally racing, just praying your presentation actually lands instead of putting everyone to sleep. Well, if you're nodding along right now, you are definitely not alone. We have all been there. But what if I told you that effective communication isn't some magical talent you're either born with or you're not? It's actually just a toolkit. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the LTT methodology. That stands for Language, Work, and Technology, which was developed by Professor Rodrigo Navarro de Silva for the Central Paula Souza. We're going to unpack this comprehensive guide to give you the exact framework you need to achieve absolute clarity in your academic and professional life. So here is our roadmap for today. We're covering 4 main stages. 1, the foundation of communication. 2, the art of writing. 3, the rigor of the TCC. And 4, oral presentations. Let's just dive right into step 1. Section 1, the foundation of communication, or building the pillars of thought. Basically, every great idea starts with human language. It's the core tool we use to organize our thoughts and build our professional identity. But here's the catch. To communicate effectively, we really have to understand our audience's context first. Who is producing the text? Where is it circulating? And most importantly, who's receiving it? If you miss the context, even the best idea will fall totally flat. And honestly, that brings us to the ultimate enemy of clear communication: ambiguity. Ambiguity happens when a word or phrase allows for more than one interpretation. It can be lexical, like the word bank, which could mean a place that holds your money or a place to sit. Or it can be syntactic, which is based on how the sentence is actually built. The source material gives this really brilliant example: I saw the man with binoculars. Just think about that for a second. Did you use binoculars to see the man? Or did you see a man who was holding a pair of binoculars? Now, in poetry, that kind of double meaning is beautiful, but in a technical, professional report, it is a disaster waiting to happen. Clarity is your absolute best friend. Moving on to section 2, the art of writing. Transforming ideas into powerful texts. I want you to think of your vocabulary, your words, as bricks. They're solid, distinct units. But obviously, just throwing bricks into a pile doesn't build a house, right? You need mortar. And in professional texts, that mortar is cohesion, the careful use of pronouns, synonyms, and connecting words that bind your sentences together so your reader never gets lost. To build that house, Professor Navarro outlines 3 totally non-negotiable phases of text production: planning, production, and revision. Sounds incredibly simple, right? But here's the crazy part. People skip the planning phase all the time. They sit down and just start frantically typing. Skipping that planning phase, failing to define your objective, your target audience, and your core ideas before you write, is basically a guaranteed recipe for a disorganized, incoherent text. Always, always plan your structure first. It literally saves you time in the long run. Now let's look at a high-contrast comparison you absolutely must get right: paraphrase versus plagiarism. Paraphrasing is taking someone else's idea, rewriting it in your own words, and, this is the critical part, citing the source. It's a highly recommended academic tool. It shows you've actually synthesized the information. Plagiarism, on the other hand, is copying without giving credit. And it's not just a minor slip-up. It's an unethical practice that can instantly ruin a professional or academic reputation. Always give credit where it's due. A super practical application of all this is your resume. You need your personal data, a clear professional objective, your academic background, professional experience, specific courses, and your skills. But here's the real takeaway. Your resume is not a static, set-in-stone document. The number 1 piece of advice is to always adapt these key elements to the specific job opening you want. You've got to tailor your bricks and mortar to the exact house the employer is looking to buy. All right, section 3, the rigor of the TCC, the architecture of your final project. For a lot of people, just hearing ABNT formatting induces a cold sweat. But let's reframe this rigor not as some kind of academic punishment, but as the standard architecture of your ideas. These norms are the universal language of academia. They're the blueprint that ensures your ideas are taken seriously by other professionals. To make this intimidating structure actually manageable, we can break the TCC down into 3 functional areas. First, the pretextual elements. This is your title page, dedications, abstract, and table of contents. Everything that sets the stage. Second, the textual elements. This is the real meat of the work: your introduction, methodology, results, and conclusion. And finally, the post-textual elements, which include your all-important references and annexes. When you look at it as just 3 sequential buckets, the whole process suddenly feels highly organized and totally achievable. You might actually want to jot this down. Here are the famously strict ABNT rules straight from the manual. You use A4 paper. Your font is either Arial or Times New Roman, size 12. The margins are strict: 3 centimeters for the top and left, 2 centimeters for the bottom and right. Your line spacing is exactly 1.5. And what if you have a direct quote longer than 3 lines? You drop the font size down to 10, use single spacing, and apply a 4-centimeter indent from the left margin. Boom! Use those exact measurements and you instantly give your work an undeniable professional polish. And hey, watch out for this incredibly common grammatical pitfall. Look at the wrong approach. The professor explained the content. You never, ever separate the subject from the predicate with a comma. It completely breaks the logical flow of the sentence. The correct way is smooth and direct. The professor explained the content. And remember, your spell checker will probably miss this because the words themselves are spelled correctly. The software just doesn't understand the context. This is exactly why meticulous human revision is absolutely indispensable. Which brings us to section 4, the stage. Oral presentations giving voice and impact to your idea. Your idea has been written, it's been revised, now it finally steps out into the spotlight. This is where your structured text transforms into a dynamic, persuasive interaction with a real, live audience. To succeed up there, you need to know how you're being judged. The LTT evaluation rubric demystifies this into 4 key dimensions covering 20 distinct criteria. First is content and accuracy. Do you actually know your stuff deeply? Second is didactics and clarity. Is your logic organized, and are your visuals actually helping? Third is your performance as a presenter, your posture, your diction, your eye contact. And fourth is engagement and impact. Are you keeping the audience interested? Knowing this matrix is like having the cheat code. You know exactly how your professional readiness is being measured. So how do we score high on that rubric? Well, here is a highly actionable, super memorable takeaway, the 3-second rule. When you click to your next slide during a presentation, just pause. Give the audience exactly 3 seconds to absorb the new visual information before you start speaking over it. If you talk while they're trying to read a new slide, their brains literally split their attention, and they'll miss both what you're saying and what the slide says. 3 silent seconds. It projects immense confidence and shows real respect for your audience. So what should those supporting slides actually look like? Keep it simple. Aim for a maximum of 6 lines per slide and 6 words per line. Prioritize legibility with a font size of 24 or larger. Make sure there is adequate contrast between your text and your background. Avoid walls of text and crazy distracting animations, and pace yourself to roughly 1 slide per minute. The absolute golden rule here: your slides are meant to support you, the speaker. They are not a teleprompter for you to just stand there and read word for word. Look, even with perfect slides and a totally flawless script, standing up there can be terrifying. Let's just address the nonverbal elephant in the room: nervousness. It is completely 100% normal. To project confidence despite the nerves, lean on these strategies. Prepare rigorously. Rehearse with a timer so you control the pace. Take a deep breath before you say your first word. Focus entirely on the value of the content you're sharing rather than focusing inward on yourself. Establish strong eye contact. And always remember this comforting truth: your audience is not there to watch you fail. They're giving you their time because they genuinely want you to succeed. So we've walked through the entire journey. We've laid the foundation by understanding context and destroying ambiguity. We've built the house by mastering the art of planning, cohesive writing, and proper citation. We've respected the architecture by embracing the rigorous formatting of academic work. And finally, we've prepared for the stage, learning exactly how to present our ideas with clarity, strong visuals, and quiet confidence. You now have the complete LTT methodology toolkit right at your disposal, which leaves us with just one final question. Your idea is structured and ready for the world. So how are you going to use your voice? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep explaining, and I will catch you on the next one.